Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Om Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskrityam
Narayanam
Narayana
Namaskrityam
Namaskrityam.
Naran Chaiva Narottamam
Naram
Naram
Chaiva
Chaiva
Narottamam
Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim
Devi
Saraswatim
Saraswati
Vyasam
Vyasam.
Tato Jayamudirayat.
Tato
Tato
Jayamudirayet
Jayamudire.
Nashtaprayasu Bhadresu
Nashtaprayeshu
Namaste
Abhadreshu
Bhadresu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam
Nityam
Bhagavata
Bhagavata
Sevaya
Sevaya.
Bhagavati Uttama Sloke
Bhagavati
Bhagavati
Uttama
Uttam
Shloke
Sloke.
Bhavati Naistiki.
Bhaktir Bhavati
Bhagavati
Naistaki.
Naistiki.
Reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, titled Conclusion, the Perfection of Renunciation. And today's verse is verse number 37. Yattatyagre visamiva
Yattat
Yadagre
agre visham
Vishmeva.
eva
pariname amrutopamam
pariname
Pariname
amritopamam
Amrutopamam.
tat sukham satvikam proktam
tat
Tad
sukham
Sukham
satvikam
Satvikam
proktam
Proktam.
atma buddhi prasadajam
Atma
atma buddhi
Buddhi
prasadajam
Prasadajam.
yattat agre visamiva
yattat
Yadagre
agre
Visham
visham
Eva.
eva
pariname amritopamam
Pariname
pariname amritopamam
Amrutopamam.
tat sukham satvikam proktam
tat
Tad
sukham
Sukham
satvikam
Satvikam
proktam
Proktam.
atma buddhi prasadajam.
atma
Atma
buddhi
Buddhi
prasadajam
Prasadajam.
Anyone would like to lead?
Yadagre Visham Eva.
Yattat
yattat agre
igre
visham
visam
eva
eva
Pariname Amrutopamam.
pariname
pariname
amritopamam
amrutapamam
Tas Sukham Satvikam Proktam.
tat
tat
sukham
sukham
satvikam
satvikam
proktam
praktam
Atma Buddhi Prasadajam.
atma
atma
buddhi
buddhi prasadajam.
prasadajam yattad agre visham iva
Yattat
Yadagre
agre
Visham
visam
Eva.
eva
pariname amritopamam
Pariname
pariname
Amrutopamam.
amrutapamam
tat sukham satvikam proktam
Tas
tat
Sukham
sukham
Satvikam
satvikam
Proktam.
praktam
atma buddhi prasadajam
Atma
atma
Buddhi
buddhi prasadajam.
Prasadajam.
Thank you. Word by word meaning. Yat which,
yat which
tat that,
tat that
That
agre in the beginning,
agre in the
Agre
beginning
in the beginning.
visam eva like poison,
visham iva
Visham
like
Eva like poison.
poison
pariname at the end,
pariname
Pariname
at
at
the
the
end
end.
amrita nectar,
amrita
Amrut
nectar
nectar.
upamam compared to,
upamam
Upamam
compared to
compared to.
tat that,
tat
Tat
that
that.
sukham happiness,
sukham
Sukham
happiness
happiness.
satvicam in the mode of goodness,
satvicam in the
Satvikam
mode
in the
of
mode of
goodness
goodness.
proktam is said,
proktam
Proktam
is
is
said
said.
atma in the self,
atma in the
Atma
self
in the self.
buddhi of intelligence,
buddhi
Buddhi
of
of
intelligence
intelligence.
prasadajam,
Prasadajam.
prasadajam
born of satisfaction.
born of
Born of the
satisfaction
satisfaction.
Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai.
Vijay
That which
That
that
which
which
in the beginning
in the
in the
beginning
beginning
may be just like poison,
may be just like
may be
poison
just like poison,
but at the end
but at the end
but at the end
is just like nectar,
is just like
is
nectar
just like nectar,
and which awakens
and which
and which
awakens
awakens
one to self-realization,
one to
one to
self-realization
self-realization,
is said to be happiness
is said to be
is said to be
happiness
happiness
in the mode of goodness.
in the
in the
mode of
mode of
goodness.
goodness.
Anyone would like to lead the purport on this page?
In the pursuit of self-realization, one has to follow many rules and regulations to control the mind and the senses and to concentrate the mind on the self. All these procedures are very difficult, bitter like poison, but If one is successful in following the regulations and comes to the transcendental position, he begins to drink real nectar and he enjoys life.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Let's all chant together. Agyana timirandasya jnananjana shalakaya
Shalakaya
Chakshurmilitam tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanutam He Krishna
He
Karuna
Krishna Karuna
Sindhu
Sindhu
Dinabandhu
Dinabandhu
Jagatpate
Jagatpate
Gopesha
Gopesh
Gopika
Gopika
Kanta
Kanta
Radha
Radha
Kanta
Kanta
Namastute
Namostute
Tapta
Tapta
Kanchana
Kanchana
Gaurangi Radhe
Gaurangi Radhe
Vrindavaneshwari
Vrindavaneshwari
Vishwani Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye
Priye
Vanchakalpa Tarubhascha Kripa
Kalpatarubhyascha
Sindhu
Kripa Sindhu
Vaevacha
Vevcha
Patitanam
Patitanam
Pavanebhyo
Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo
Vaishnavebhyo
Jai
Namo
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu
Namo
Nityananda Shri
Sri
Advaita
Advaita
Gadadhar
Gadadhar
Sivas Adi
Srivasadi
Gaura
Gauri
Bhakta Vrinda
Bhakta Vrinda
Hare
Hare
Krishna Hare
Krishna Hare
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama
Hare Rama
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 Hare Hare
Hare Hare
Nilachala Nivasaya
Kaya
Nityaya
Nityaya
Paramatmane
Paramatmane
Balabhadra
Balabhadra
Subhadrabhyam
Subhadrabhyam
Jagannathaya
Jagannadaya
Te
Te Namaha.
So thank you so much for joining this wonderful Sangha. So here Krishna beautifully is going step by step, and as you saw, Krishna is going systematically across the modes one after other. In the 20 to 22nd verse, three verses, he talks about knowledge in the mode of goodness, 21 passion, ignorance. Then he talks about karma or the nature of action in 23 to 25. And then to summarize, he does speak about karta, the nature of the doer or actor from 26 to 28. And 30 to 32, he talks about buddhi, the understanding of action in the mode of goodness in 30, 31, passion, 32, ignorance. And 33 to 35, he talks about determination. And now in this mode, in 36, he gave a overview of all the three. And in 37, today, he talks about sukha or the fruits of action or happiness. Talks about happiness in the mode of goodness. So he goes very systematically, as you saw. And here, Krishna is using some beautiful subject matter which we all can learn from. He says, anything which initially feels like visam evam. That means any work you start in the beginning, it's bitter or it's not very sweet, it's tedious, it's not very happily done. It's poisonous, it's not favorable, and then you transcend to anything which is good or nectarian. Pariname amritapam. That means which starts with bitter, goes to happiness in the upliftment in terms of realization, but the realization is the real spiritual term, but it applies to everything. Krishna's words are transcendental, it applies to everything in our life, and that transcendence from poisonous to nectar is, is happiness in the mode of goodness. So when you transcend from poisonous to nectarian happiness, that is happiness in the mode of goodness. So let's try to dissect this little bit more. And in the translation, there are three things which are spoken about: the beginning and the end and the awakening. If you see, the beginning is not favorable, poisonous, bitter. The end is nectarian, and the journey is for the sake of self realization. And that happiness through this journey is the mode of goodness. So sometimes we get nectar, sometimes we get results of our fruit. And when we get the results of our fruit without any hardship, without any bitterness, without any poison in our system, without any unhappiness, we all of a sudden got this, wonderful thing. You got like $100,000 or whatever. Then we should recognize that that may be happiness, but that's not happiness in the mode of goodness. Sometimes there is luck in our life. This is how we should understand the inner workings of karma. As so, when we discuss this, we understand how all these things are working, the laws of karma, how Lord is responding to us based on our hardship. So he is saying, if you have got something without any difficulty, without any bitterness, without anything, and you all of a sudden you got it, make no mistake, this will go away. So Krishna is laying out the yardstick very beautifully, and that is what we should understand. If something in our life we got with ease, with we got without any difficulty, we should recognize that it may be impulsively happiness because we got it all of a sudden and you got a aha moment. But actually, you realize that that happiness will be either taken away because you have not gone through the yardstick of what Krishna is saying here. You didn't start. So, how does a devotee understand this? Let's try to understand this from a Krishna conscious angle. So, Krishna is going to talk about happiness in the mode of goodness 37, passion, happiness in the mode of passion in 38, and ignorance. But here he's saying, Yat tat agre visamiva. That is, in the beginning, it tastes like poison. At the end, it tastes like amrita. It tastes like nectar. So tat sukham satvikam proktam, that happiness in the mode of goodness, and its characteristic is atma buddhi prasadam. That means you're trying to do spiritual awakening or spiritual intelligence or self-realization, and 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 that result is actually is prasadajam. That means it is prasad is what remnant. Bhoga is enjoyment. After the Lord enjoys, it becomes prasad, right? So prasad is remnant. So that remnant is born from this process of poison transcending to nectar. That is, see, sometimes what happens, you take, you look at the mines. So from the mines, they get the impurity filled gold or copper or whatever. They go through the process of cleansing it, melting it, whatnot, and then eventually the nectar comes out, the gold comes out, the copper comes out, or the magnesium comes out, or the bauxite comes out. If you go to the aluminum mines in the southern in the western part of Odisha and southern part of Odisha, you'll realize that the bauxite mines are just like some of these big mountains filled with a red colored soil, but once it goes through the process of refining, then you eventually get bauxite, which is white powder, and that's a powdery form, and from which some of these aluminum utensils are made, which is very white in color and all that. So it goes through the grind, and that process. So Srila Prabhupada translated the word prasadaja means born of satisfaction. So prasada is nothing but remnant. But Srila Prabhupada is saying prasadajam. That means it's born of satisfaction. He translated which awakens one's self-realization because you are seeking who we are and where we have come from and what is the relationship. So one practices spiritual life, such practices one moves from material to spiritual, and then it starts delighting at spiritual level, the extent one is delighted. And when that thought process of transcending, so going through the grind of starting with sadness in the form of initially it is poisonous and then eventually it is transporting to Amrita, that feeling is supreme. And that feeling, because you didn't start well, you had surrendered everything, you had nowhere to go, you had difficulty, and but you took the poison, and eventually over a period of time you basically polished the gold again and again and again, and then you become gold finally. So when a child is playing, it's very easy for him. But when he's asked to study with discipline, the child is not happy. The child is not pleasantly smiling because he's forced to learn things which he doesn't like. And moving forward, as he experiences the aha moment when he understand the unit, the addition, subtraction, and he discovers the intelligence lies within this. He he relishes it. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Sishtastakam mentions Pratipada Purna Ashwadam. That means every step of the way, when we do spiritual awakening, spiritual realization, it gives us that element to understand ourselves. We understand the inner working of karma, that hey, this is how Lord's nature is organized, and uh, we should recognize the importance of so many dynamics which is happening with us. And then every step of the way, when we end up doing some devotional service, it gives us that ecstatic feeling and is full
Huh.
of nice relishing. So, as a sadhaka, we should not always try to seek pleasure everywhere. We have to, uh, when we seek for pleasure, that means you have not gone through the journey which Krishna is mentioning here. So, searching for happiness should not be the mentality of good sadhakas or practitioners. Searching for devotional service, which may be difficult at the beginning, but eventually, when when in other places, Mataji was mentioning Scarborough or Brampton, when the temple is eventually built, there is no temple now or a small place where they meet on Sundays because the original temple in Toronto is very crowded. And eventually, when the temple is going to be built on the first day of darshan, everybody's hard work would be relishable, and you could see the happiness in the minds of people when that happens. So, uh, so we should recognize that our journey may start with difficulty, but it has an element of nectarian relishment at the end of the day, and that is what Krishna is mentioning is is important. See, whenever we wake up early in the morning, many of our brahmacharis they wake up early in the morning, 3:30, they take their bath. It's not easy for them to leave the bed at that point in time because it is actually very cozy to stay within the confines uh, of our quilt, and we don't feel like leaving the bed. But as we unshackle that comfort level and we start doing those activities which will give us hardship in the morning, taking shower in the cold, and then going to Mangalarati, and then chanting the rounds, then doing the darshan, and then taking Mahaprasadam, and then. So when you go through this process over a period of time, you recognize that you are gradually advancing to the anartha nivriti stage, whereas all these impurities we have, this this sleeping early in the morning mentality, or our ability to have laziness bestowed in all our dealings, is all taken care of, and slowly we tend to refine ourselves, and when we refine ourselves, we get closer to the final enlightenment in which we tend to understand who we are. So Krishna is saying very beautifully that it starts it starts with tat agre visamiva. It starts with poison. Pariname amritopamam. That means at the end It is full of nectar. So whenever we have achieved anything, without any difficulty, many times we may think that we have received it with ease. Think that that ease, you've not gone through the hardship to achieve that which you got at ease. It may be taken away, but we sometimes don't recognize that. That's the reason why people who have not ground themselves hard enough, and sometimes when the crisis happens, they shiver. But a person who has gone through the poisonous activities, yattat agre visamivam, that means which the person who have started the hardship, done the full 9 yards, have gone through the process, finally when he achieves it, then the transition is something he can relish. Sometimes what happens when a person is is very rich, for example, but when he is rich, he cannot distinguish between paneer, which epitomizes, rich dishes, to simple beans, which may be very basic. But if you have started with beans and very humble background, and you grew up over a period of time, and then you eventually uh, get to a position where you could afford paneer, in the sense that when that gradual improvement is there in your life, you would relish. That relishment is what Krishna consciousness is all about. That aha moment we all need to have. So that anartha nibriti stage over a period of time will come, interact, and will get rid of all this ahankar, get rid of all this envy in our system, and slowly all these things will go away from our system, and we will tend to see everyone as the servant of the servant of the servant of the Supreme. And as devotees, when we see each other, then so this process of cleansing, as we understand it, is important, because Krishna consciousness is a science. Krishna consciousness have some steps, have some experiments. You have to perform those experiments as sadhakas. You have to go through the process of, whatever, waking up, chanting, doing devotional service, and then gradually you become very humble. That's the reason why these devotees who are practicing Krishna consciousness, you'll see they are very calm. They're supposedly supposed to be very calm, and they're supposed to be they're not agitated enough, and they should be focusing on this Krishna consciousness. So they have experienced that amrutopamam. That means they have experienced that amrit or nectar. So when the transition is there, the relishment to experience Krishna consciousness is significant in the slope, and those are the yardsticks. Krishna is saying are the happiness. If a person has done nothing and he is in the mode of goodness and he achieves something very substantial, he will not be happy, because to him Krishna has told him in 18.37 that he has not gone through the grinds to achieve it. And if he has achieved something without the hardship, Krishna is going to take it away. So, so we should recognize that, let's put that element of hardship in our life, not get perturbed by the poison in the beginning. If we experience poison in the beginning, like Visamagre, Krishna is saying, eventually we get to nectar, we will relish it. And that relishment is Krishna consciousness for all of us. Once we recognize who we are and who we have come from and what is the relationship, that is when we recognize that is the objective. Many people in this world don't even care about it. But actually, we as sadhakas, we have understood this higher taste, and that's the reason why we are recognizing. So the yardstick of happiness is in front of you. If it started in a difficult way and you have got there, that's the yardstick we all should aspire for. And if we have achieved happiness without much hardship, you should recognize that that will go away soon for us. And we should always aspire that let Krishna give us that test bed where we find a difficult problem to solve. And eventually, when we solve it with hardship, it gives us that feeling of nectar in our life. So the yardstick of happiness is in front of us. It's how we understand it and how we internalize it and take it to a different level. Because Krishna, he is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is providing the the manual for life and how we should understand life. If this is how we have understood this 18.37 we talked about and imbibe this in our lives and also in our kids' life, they will go the hard way in recognizing the importance of hardship because people don't recognize the importance of hardship. And once they go through the grind and they are in the autopilot mode, they will achieve success eventually. You don't have to really tuition them at all because they have understood the autopilot mode nature and they will come in handy. So, with that, like to end here, like to hear your understanding of this verse in terms of how you should take happiness, why happiness is when it comes with a lot of difficulty, it has its relishment, and why that is more important because Krishna is showing that path so beautifully in this verse as to what happiness is, which starts with the poison and ends with the nectar, is the happiness in the mode of goodness. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. Any comments, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Then was Brahma. Srila Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, two points, Prabhuji. When you are telling, I realized one is Prabhuji, as you mentioned, when the ore transforms, when ore transforms into a end product, right? Like gold or aluminum or so. What is happening in this process? The realization is that as you told, anartha nivritti, right? That is what we are doing. Anartha nivritti is transforming us from the mine, after the mining the ore, and then transforming into a pure gold or any ornament to that extent. The next step is the ornament, right? So that is where we become useful to Krishna. We are the ornaments for spreading the Krishna consciousness. That's what Prabhupada did. So the main point there is that in this journey from poison to happiness, we are transforming ourselves. All those anarthas which have been there accumulated, they are being cleansed. They are being cleansed, and we are also getting the realization of it, Prabhuji. The realizations, what we are getting when we only realize things when we don't have, or when we realize things when we have problems, right? Oh, this must be the wrong. So these problems in the initially are to give us the realizations of the whatever situation, spiritually and material solutions also, but more is spiritual, Prabhuji. That this transformation is giving us realizations. And another point, which Prabhuji, which you are mentioning, when you were explaining, I realized that Krishna did not give any option for that something is poison in the beginning and poison in the end also. He never gave those choices. He only gave the choice of either nectar in the beginning and poison in the end, or poison in the beginning and nectar in the end. So that which is, so what I got the realization you're telling is that that is not a choice at all for us. That so we should not get if in the beginning if we have hardships. Oh, we may tend to we generally tend to think, oh, this is going to be like this forever. Let's leave it. Why shrama eva kevalam. That's the mindset we have, right? That we oh, this is going to be a pain. Let's quit it, right? Who will get up at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock, whatever their timing is? Why can't we have a good restful sleep nap at that time? So what is that is not at an option. The Krishna never gave that option. So that means we should not get uh, we should not get demoralized or demotivated. Oh, this is tough, and let me quit it. In the He's assuring that in the end, if it is, it will be a nectar. So we have to take that, and we should continue our Krishna consciousness. Initially, we may not be successful, but eventually, at least we will not become great like Prabhupada, but at least we will transform ourselves for the next step. So these are the two realizations I got, Prabhupada. Right.
Yes, bro.
Thank
So
you.
Krishna
Hare
did
Krishna.
not say that you start with wish and will end with wish.
Right.
Wish means poison. So Krishna says you start with difficulty, but eventually you will achieve success. But as he did not say you'll end with you'll you'll not end with poison, we should always aspire that, as Lord is saying, there is an element of assurance Lord is giving. So with that, we should start uh, working, because when the Supreme Personality of Godhead, if you're surrendered enough, you'd abide by His process. And here He has categorically mentioned about the transition. So if you look at it, it's 200% accurate. You start with difficulty. Look at all the inventions, all the discoveries. Even the geography is filled with, whenever people have come from different parts of the world to, discover America, how much hardship they have gone through. So if you see, uh, you'll experience it in every step of the way, the accuracy of Krishna's words, and you'll see it right in front of you as to how some of these people have gone and reached the pinnacle of success. So these are some of the things we should never sort of sway from our lifestyle. Yeah, Krishna did not say from poison to poison. He says poison to nectar. Yeah. Yes,
Just
bro.
just to make a point, Prabhu. This we have to distinguish between the materialistic success and spiritual success, right? So a lot of the materialistic success can happen to you without much effort, right? Based on your karma, let's say, you're born into a rich family and everything is given to you. So from that, you moved on, you went to good school, you did everything, and you got, you became successful. Successful in the sense that we treat anybody that had a lot of material wealth as being successful, right? On the other hand, the spiritual success is different, right? Some people may achieve, some people may not achieve. But the karma from the previous life does play a part in what you do and how you achieve and what you get in this life. And so that's a distinction. But in this particular case, I think Krishna is basically referring to the spiritual success that you attain in this, not the material success. That's the comment I want to make.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And in the third line, Krishna speaks about spiritual awakening, and that is Krishna is very clear about the righteousness, because most of the righteousness in our life is driven by, it's mentioned in the scriptures as well. People who are in the mode of goodness, for them they follow scriptures, and if you take the scriptures as is, what Prabhu said is absolutely accurate in that sense. And actually, in our pursuit of success, initially you may go after material success, but after some time you realize it's mundane. So essentially, you yourself may transcend into spiritual success. So yes, he's actually focusing, and he's 100% on the spiritual path, and we all are seeking spiritual path. But for devotees who are fully not convinced with Krishna consciousness, why we should seek spiritual, and they want to take inspiration from Bhagavad Gita in their material life. Actually, Krishna also mentions there are four kinds of people who come to me, and and a person who wants material benefit. If they come to me, I give them material benefit as well. So, in that context, uh, these are some things you can feel inspired about, but the real thing is not material success in our life. As Prabhuji said, sometimes when you are born from a rich family, you you tend to have a good start. But actually, if you look at it closely, quite a lot of these families. Actually, I was looking at some of the stats. 70% of the Fortune 500 companies who were in 1980, they are no more in Fortune 500. 70% of this Fortune 500 companies in 1980 don't even are in Fortune 500 now. So over a period of time, even if they are rich, if they do not put hardship in there, the facts are in front of us as to, in order to always be on the top, we have to put hardship. And if you want to take inspiration from hardship, putting hardship to reap benefit, the real thing is spiritual progress. But if you want to reap material, Krishna will give you, but that's not the end. The end is really to have pure devotional service, wherein instead of Krishna giving us material benefit, how can we say, how can we serve you, lordships? That's how our motive is. But if you are not at that stage, but at least you can see the benefit of Krishna consciousness and his teachings and feel inspired about.
To
Thank you, Prabhu.
Bala's point, Prabhuji, I want to mention one thing. Krishna, see, Krishna, as you told Prabhuji, Krishna has given that clause that awakening the self from the journey from poison to nectar at the expense of the uh, self-realization. It is the self-realization. Otherwise, what Bala Prabhu has mentioned, material success is one characteristic of that is temporary. It is there, but it is temporary. But whereas this success is eternal, Prabhuji.
Mm.
Once you reach that realization or the nectar, it you will not lose it. There is no diminishing factor in that. So that is the fundamental difference, Prabhuji, that here Krishna is talking of the eternal happiness.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
the temporary one, the material will be, most of the times it will be temporary.
Mm.
And if it is used for a good cause, it will turn into eternal, definitely. It will transition into eternal also. But we have to, most of us, we are trying nowadays for the temporary ones. We are reaching Krishna consciousness, but that's how we will transition to eternity also.
Yeah. Yeah. If we are seeking material benefit, after some time, either uh, that will leave us in the sense that we feel that that is temporary because money is temporary, and today you have X, tomorrow you will have Y, and if you, but this the love for Godhead, wherein we are seeking to do spiritual realization in our lives as to who we are, who is the supreme, where we have come from, that understanding is is found in very less people in this world, and we want to recognize that that is the real knowledge. That is the real happiness in and these temporary happiness is as it is defined, it's temporary. So when some of our acharyas, brahmacharis, you see in the movement, they had everything, but they left it because for them it was immaterial. It was actually it's infinitesimal uh, for them. It's
Higher
little.
taste. They got the higher taste.
They got the higher taste. So if we can hone in on that and not use Krishna consciousness more of a happiness thing or a material benefit thing, and seek that in our journey, that is probably the best, as Bala Prabhu is saying. Krishna's message is for that, but in this world, many may not take to that, and Srila Prabhupada epitomized it by staying and focusing on those paradigms wherein if this world is a becomes Krishna conscious, this world will be so peaceful, there will be no fighting and all of that. So that's the real thing. But if you are not there, but still there's something to think about. Any other comments, Ro? And when you think about outside, right, how we uh, sort of destroyed the beautiful creation by the Lord. You find fires engulfing everywhere, and huge cities are getting engulfed in fire in southwest of this country. So when we this Supreme Personality of Godhead has created this beautiful universe for a reason, and as we start misusing it and misusing it and misusing it, we realize we are going to kill ourselves if we. So it's all the more reasonable for us to awaken ourselves in the spiritual manner in which we, in wherein we stay, simple living, high thinking, but instead we are doing all kind of, uh, you know, um, disturbance in this mother nature. And so it's all the more reasonable that if we can't give respect to mother nature through which we are taking the water, the mountain, the air, and we are not even paying taxes to it. We're paying taxes to these people who may not be taking. So it's all the more reasonable to take care of our nature, take care of the animals, take care of the birds, and be respectful for Lord's creation. If Lord's creations are not respected, Lord will come out and do His messaging. So we have to be very practical in our ability to respect Mother Nature and respect His teachings, and that will be helpful for all of us. Okay. Any other comments? Okay. So next verse is also equally beautiful. Krishna will speak about the mode of happiness and the mode of passion. So when we could compare and contrast, and in the next verse, Lord will talk about happiness in the mode of ignorance. So it's all the more reasonable to hear happiness, or everybody is seeking happiness in this world. Everybody is seeking happiness, and the way to happiness, spiritual happiness, is when you transcend from a feeling of poisonous situation to a nectarian situation. That's what so beautifully explained by the Lord Himself to Arjuna. So, if there is no other comments, let's end here. by offering prayers at the lotus feet of all Vaishnavas.
Mhm.
Vancha
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha
kalpataruvascha kripa sindhu
kripasindhuvaya
vaevacha
vacha
Patitanam
patitanam
namo
pavanebhyo
patitanam
vaishnavebhyo namo
Vaishnavibhyo
namo.
namo namo.
Vaishnav Vrinda
Vrinda
ki
ki
jai,
jai.
Jai.
Bhagavad
Srila
Gita ki
Prabhupada ki
jai,
jai.
Ki
Srila
jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Ki jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Bol.
Krishna.